Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, citizens of all ages, welcome back to another edition Star Citizen, excuse me, video thingamajiggerbobber. Now, I've waited a while to put this out, as it seems like a lot of people's pants were on fire in one aspect or another, whether that be figuratively, literally. A lot of people's heads were exploding and rotating around like the fucking Exorcist. So I wanted to wait, in the typical day late gamer fashion. Oh, fuck you, Windows. And I wanted to let this kind of settle. I wanted to read it. I wanted to take in the information, and I feel like this was definitely more of a hit piece than an informative piece of journalism. I mean, it definitely seems like a super op-ed than any real due diligence done. And the reason I say that is bringing up some personal things. I'm sure by now, if you're watching this video, you have an idea as to what's in this article. So what I wanted to do was kind of hit some of the main beats and kind of talk about what's going on. Now, this was done by Matt Perez, Forbes staff. He says he writes about video games and esports, but I wonder. But anyway, so it starts out where it's talking about the 2018 CitizenCon, going into how on average people are spending $200 a piece, which I don't know, I think that's more of like a median, but anyway, goes on saying that it's an epic sci-fi fantasy. It was supposed to be finished in 2014, but after 7 years, no one, least of all Roberts, has a clue when it's going to be done. Now, this 2014 figure, right, that's correct, except they were envisioning Star Citizen to be a much smaller venue than what it's turned into. They could have put it out in that form and it would have been, okay, but now with the procedural planet tech coming online, with, you know, all the advances in the tech, you know, it's going to be pushed off. Now, some people are going to say feature creep. I'm not exactly going to disagree with them, although some of this feature creep is actually outlined in the original, not Kickstarter, but the initial funding goals when they had those stretch goals. So some of this, by all means, is feature creep. But I think a lot of points that people point to are things that were pre-outlined already. It goes on to say, despite the disappointments and delays, the crowd's cheering, they roar as 50-year-old Englishman, I'm pretty sure Chris is American, jumps onto the stage, big screen lights up to the latest test version of Star Citizen. Now, that's all well and good. Demo starts, seeing through the eyes of the character, waking up, brews coffee, yada yada yada, turns to laughs when the game crashes. Again, you know, this is something in active development. You know, they fill the dead air with a commercial for the Kraken, the $1,500 or so massive. Now this is interesting. Massive war machine. It's not. It's a carrier. But okay. 1650. Sorry. They go on to say a couple of quotes here and there. What's really rough is the current state of Star Citizen, which, okay, sort of. The performance has been much better in my opinion. They've raised 288 million, almost 300 mil. It is one of the most crowdfunded things so far, or it is the most crowdfunded campaign ever. Going on talking about the offline single-player campaign Squadron 42. 242 million has been contributed by about 1.1 million fans. Again, see, like, that's the median. You know, some people do $20,000, some people only throw in 50. So I think their number, it really is just kind of more of a medium. And then they talk about taking in cryptocurrencies. Okay. Rough playable modes, alphas, not betas, are used to raise hopes and illustrate work being done, which it is. Roberts has enticed gamers with a steady stream of hype, including promising a vast playable universe with 100 star systems, in quotes. But most of the money is gone, and the game is still far from finished. At the end of 2017, for example, Roberts was down to just 14 million in the bank. He has since raised more money. The 100 star systems, he has not completed a single one. So far, he has 2 mostly finished planets, 9 moons, and an asteroid. Now, that is true. He has not completed a single one, but from my viewpoint, you know, you need the tools to do the project. You know, you can't build a house with just a saw. You know, you gotta need a saw, a hammer, a foreman, so on and so forth. Now, to their credit, they go on to say this is not fraud. Roberts is really working on a game, but it is incompetence and mismanagement on a galactic scale. Nice pun. Galactic scale. I like that. The heedless waste is fueled by easy money raised through crowdfunding. Wild West territory nearly free of regulators and rules. Creatives are in charge here, not profit-driven, being counters on deadline enforcing suits. Wow, I can't English today. Brain my damage. Federal bureaucrats and state lawyers have intervened only in a few egregious situations where there was little effort to make good and a lot of money was pocketed by the promoters. Can you cite this? Many high-profile crowdfunded projects like the Pebble smartwatch and the Ouya have failed miserably. Yeah, but you can't compare the Ouya, which was an obvious Android ripoff, to something that is actually, you know, somewhat playable. Granted, I can kind of see where they were talking about what they were the things that they have in common, but I feel like it's apples and oranges. If you don't play video games, you probably have heard. That's all, folks. If you don't play video games, you probably have never heard of Roberts, but in the world of consoles and controllers, he is Keith Richards, an aging rock star who can still get fans to reach into their pocket. I find that was a weird choice. Keith Richards? You go with Keith Richards? Alright. Roberts first gained fame with his early 1990s hit Wing Commander, a space combat series that grossed over 400 mil and featured Hollywood stars like Mark Hamill and Malcolm McDowell. He followed that success by starting his own studio, Digital Anvil, with Microsoft as an investor. There he spent years working on Freelancer, a spiritual successor to Wing Commander, which was eventually released years behind schedule and was far from a blockbuster. That was a whole thing in and of its own. To just look at it in face value like that, I feel like is negating a lot of the actual things that occurred with that, but I digress. Roberts also dabbled in Hollywood, spending tens of millions on a movie version of Wing Commander that he directed himself, and that was a critical and commercial flop. Yeah, you know, no defense there. Excuse me. There's really no defense of that. That was bad. I agree there. Forbes spoke to 20 people who used to work for Cloud Imperium, many of whom depict Roberts as a micromanager and poor steward of resources. They described the work environment as chaotic. I mean, go to any game developer and ask them what their environment is like. I think you'd be hard fucking pressed to find someone who goes, oh yeah, it's fucking relaxing, it's like a day spa here. We get up at 11 a.m. and work for like an hour, and yeah, no, fucking A. So, you know, again, I feel like, you know, thanks, Captain Obvious. As the money rolled in, what I consider to be some of Roberts' old bad habits popped up. Not being super focused, says Mark Day, a producer on Wing Commander 4, who runs a company that was contracted to do work on Star Citizen in 2013-2014. It got out of hand, in my opinion. The promises being made, call it feature creep, call it whatever it is. Now we can do this, now we can do that. I was shocked. You just gotta have a can-do attitude, my friend. There is a plan, don't worry, it's not complete madness, Roberts insists. Again, I don't know about that, but okay. But what Roberts has stirred up does seem crazy. Star Citizen seems destined to be the most expensive video game ever made, yep, and it might never be finished. Well, see, now here's the thing about finished, right? What is finished? EVE Online, that's not finished, that's still going, that's like 15 years or some shit. World of Warcraft, still going, is that finished? No. So, I mean, to try to pin single player narrative descriptors on an MMO project, I think is null in and of itself. Granted, I think I see where they were trying to go with this, that, oh, it's been, 7 years, but kind of not really. It's kind of been 4 if you think about it, because really, production didn't really start in earnest until like 2015. So I mean, for 4 years, that's not bad, but I get what they're saying. To only have not even a whole star system done in 4, 7 years, whatever you want to call it, I get it. Yeah, no, but going by those numbers, it's going to be a long time. But if you've been paying attention to the roadmap, they've been knocking out planets and moons in 3 months. Now, again, this goes back to the, you can't build a house with just a saw or just a hammer. Now that they have those tool sets that they need, again, go to the roadmap. You will see in each quarter, well, not each, but for some of the previous quarters, in 3 months, they went from having no planet and no moons to full planet and anywhere from 3 to however moons. In 3 months. Call me crazy, but it seems like this might just be able to come to fruition. Now, take 100 times 3, that's 300. That is going to be, quite an amount of time. But 3 months to do a planet and X amount of moons, I mean, I think that's pretty fast. And again, they've got the tool sets, they can actually start doing it now. To keep funding it and the 537 employees Cloud Imperium has working in 5 offices around the world, Roberts constantly needs to raise more money because he is constantly burning through cash. Well, you gotta spend money to make money. That's kind of how business works. Now again, to their credit, they do say, this is not a fraud. Roberts really is working on a game, but it's incompetence and mismanagement on a galactic scale, which, I mean, sorry, I think I'm getting a cold. Up to a point, Roberts has been transparent about where the money has been going. He released years worth of financial statements last December, but he won't say how much he or other top Cloud Imperium execs have made from the project. His wife and his brother both work in senior positions at the company. Now that, okay, admittedly, does seem a bit of nepotism, smells a bit of nepotism. It is a little strange that given the type of company that they are and how they always talk about openness and this and that they're not divulging those numbers. I think that they should. I think they should just release that information, own it, and be like, yeah, I took all the risk, I get all the gain. At the same time, I think that also needs to be put into check. So I am actually all for that information coming out. Let's see, let me skip over some of this because it's kind of just fluff. In 2012, Chris Roberts stepped onto the stage of the Austin Auditorium and proclaimed, "I'm coming back!" With a sleek video showing flying spaceships and a short demo he played from the podium. Roberts announced his first crowdfunding campaign, which quickly raised $6.2 million, which is not too bad, not too shabby. Doesn't seem like a lot in a world where budgets for quality games can easily reach into the tens of millions, but Roberts left the impression that it would be enough. After all, Star Citizen was already, quote, 12 months into production. Now, just because it's into production doesn't mean it's into development. Production and development are two completely different things. Production is the stage of planning. That's why it's being, it's in production. Development is building. There's a huge difference there. I think, they're kind of playing fast and loose with the words here. Seemed like a redemption song from a man who had been out of gaming for a decade after his partnership with Microsoft had gone sour. Today, Roberts says the initial year of development doesn't count because it was more proof of concept. So precisely, it was production, not development. He outsourced that demo, I believe, if I recall correctly, correct me in the comments, to Crytek to build that really quickly, just as just that, a proof of concept. That's not in the game. Parts of that transitioned into the game, but it's not the game. Growing up, Manchester, England, blah, 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 blah. Worked on Ultima with, people. Age of 19, did other stuff. He created Wing Commander, yada, 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 yada. Again, kind of going more into some fluff. 96, Roberts left Origin, co-founded Digital Anvil to create games in partnership with Microsoft. Cool. Roberts expanded on the idea of a living, breathing universe when he announced Freelancer in 99, 2 years after the start of development. Okay. At the time, Roberts convinced 20th Century Fox to back a $30 million movie version of Wing Commander, which lost nearly $20 million. Yeah, the Wing Commander movie was kind of shit. He's not a good movie guy. He's a great games guy, not a good movie guy. Roberts concedes that Microsoft was frustrated with the time he spent on the movie, but says funds used for it were appropriate because they came from Microsoft purchase of the minority stake, with the proceeds earmarked for general business purposes that included movie making. Okay, admittedly, that's a little bit strange. I have not seen the contract, I've not read it, so I can't really comment on it fully. Either way, Microsoft acquired full control of Digital Anvil 2001, and Roberts left the company. I would too if Microsoft became owner of my company. I'd be like, fuck that shit, I'm out. Free of Microsoft, Roberts went full Hollywood. Got in on the business side of things by co-founding production company Ascendant Pictures, which made several mostly forgettable movies like The Outlander, The Big White. Robert got a producer credit on Ascendant's most successful film, Lord of War, starring Nick Cage. Lord of War was good. I liked it. I thought Lord of War was a decent movie. Things were shaky. To make the movies, Robert teamed up with a German lawyer, Ortwin Freiermuth. Hey, that name sounds familiar, don't it? Who is now vice chairman of Cloud Imperium, also their lawyer. They arranged financing from an investment fund that was using a tax scheme to raise money in Germany for Hollywood movies. By 2006, the German government had stopped the practice, and the fund's founder was sentenced to jail for tax fraud. That's interesting. Now, one key note, Roberts and Freiermuth were not implicated. That's kind of a big thing, because that means they didn't have any goings-ons with any sort of illegal activity. And I say illegal activity because the fund's founder was sentenced to jail for tax fraud. Now, they're sentenced to jail for tax fraud, not on a scheme to raise money for movies. I mean, I think that's something important to differentiate. With the German money dried up, things were bleak in Tinseltown. Kevin Costner sued Ascendant Pictures at the end of 2005, claiming it reneged on a deal to pay him $8 million to act in a comedy. Ascendant denied wrongdoing, and the suit was settled. Robert sold Ascendant Pictures in 2010 to a small production company called Bigfoot Entertainment, which had offices in LA and the Philippines. Now, I understand Forbes is a business, magazine, literature, thingamajigger. Some of this stuff, man, I don't know. I don't feel like this is really important in terms of stuff for Star Citizen. I mean, it really just kind of seemed like they're going through. Well, let me finish first. On a summer Saturday in 2007, trespassers slipped by a security gate and entered Chris Roberts' LA home. Inside, Madison Peterson, Roberts' former common-law wife with whom he had a long on-and-off relationship, was startled and feared for her young daughter could be harmed or kidnapped. Peterson later identified the trespasser as Sandy Gardner, who is now Robert's wife for the second time and a co-founder of Cloud Imperium. Roberts reported the incident to police, and a California judge issued a temporary restraining order that required Gardner to stay 100 yards away from Peterson, who claimed in her temporary restraining order application that Gardner had been stalking and threatening both her and her daughter for nearly 3 years. Miss Gardner has an unnatural and irrational fascination with my daughter and me, Peterson wrote. I constantly and continually look to make sure my daughter and I are not watched. Now, my question. What the fuck does this have to do with business? What in the holy fucking hell, scape, shit, fuck, bug, ass, sweet, evil, Jesus, tap dancing Christ on a cracker does this have to do with Star Citizen, with business, with finance? What? This right here, right? This is probably something that I have the biggest gripe with. On the one hand, this is interesting. Like, this is like some Jerry Springer shit. On the other, what the fuck does this have to do with the business? Admittedly, this is interesting. I'll give you that. When I first read this, my jaw dropped. I was like, whoa, wait, what? The same Sandy Gardner? The what? Huh? Seriously? What? But, again, what does this have to do with the business side of it? Now, in terms of the business side of this, what this tells me, if anything, is Sandy Gardner is willing to do whatever she has to see Chris. How does that help in the business at all? Like, it don't. Now, you could make an argument, oh, well, because she's in the business and in the company and she has a position, that she's not gonna, work and she's just gonna be following Chris around. Okay. And? Have you ever been working in a company? The execs are usually huddled around each other pretty much most of the day. You know, you'll have the head of marketing talking with the CEO, and the CEO talking to the CFO, and the CFO farting around with, the VPs, and so on and so forth. I fail to see what this whole section has to do really with anything. This literally just feels like they're just trying to sully their names, and I feel like that's kind of like pitiful. I feel like that's like pathetic. But I guess, maybe that's just me. The ignorance of crowds, or the 5 largest crowdfunding projects, excluding Crypto Madness. 4 have failed or not lived up to their hype. Star Citizen, so far, still going. Not really sure what that has to do with anything, but sure, throw it in. Why not? Good journalism. In a court-filed declaration he signed at the time, Robert said Gardner had also visited Peterson's San Diego home. Alright, so once again, what's this have to do? She visited Peterson's San Diego home and became violent and tried to strangle him. I believe that if she had a gun, she would have killed me, Roberts said in the declaration. I believe that Miss Gardner is not emotionally stable. Alright, now I want to stop right here, okay? Sorry, I'm just trying to picture little, 100-pound Sandy Gardner, sopping wet, 100 pounds, trying to injure, 220-pound Chris Roberts? Really? I mean, I'm not downplaying domestic abuse. Men are definitely the victim of domestic violence, whether it be physical, whether that be emotional, whether that be verbal. My point being, I don't think, if this even really happened, that Chris was in too much danger. Granted, you bring a gun into it, yeah, but she didn't. Again, I feel this is more kind of hearsay. I would be very interested to see these legal documents that these were supposedly pulled from, but I still have a very hard time understanding what the fuck this has to do with the business side of anything. So it goes on. I believe that Miss Gardner is not emotionally stable. After 3 months, the restraining order was dissolved. Today, Roberts says he cannot recall signing the declaration and that what is ascribed to him in the court filings was prepared by Peterson and false. Despite the documentation, Gardner flatly denies the incident took place. Now, who's to say this isn't shit that was filed by Miss Peterson as being a scorn lover? This is really just kind of going out on a limb. There's no information for it, but I find it interesting that if Sandy was so crazy and vicious, why would Chris have remarried her? You ever think about that? A few years later, Roberts co-founded Cloud Imperium with Gardner and Freiermuth, his lawyer partner from Hollywood. He had remarried Gardner in 2009, 2 years after these supposed events occurred, mind you. Their first marriage was annulled in 2005. Court records show an actress who is still trying to make it in Hollywood. The 43-year-old Australian-born Gardner is also Cloud Imperium's head of marketing and a driving force behind the company's fundraising. Now again, saying an actress who is still trying to make it in Hollywood, the 43-year-old Australian-born Gardner, like that just seems like somebody is jealous, like they're scorned. Like, I don't understand. Derek Smart, where are you? Did you change your name to Matt Perez? The initial 2012 crowdfunding campaign was successful, but it turned out $6.2 million wasn't nearly enough to feed Roberts' ambition. Roberts and Gardner came up with an ingenious way to keep raising funds. They would sell spaceships, hundreds of thousands of them. Hundreds of thousands of them? We're at like 80. Maybe a little over 80. Maybe like 120 at most. That's not hundreds of thousands of ships, but okay. Star Citizen has gigantic ships and tiny ships, exploration ships, cargo ships, on a boat with a rope. It's like some Dr. Seuss shit. Refueling ships and mining ships, heavy fighters, light fighters, medium fighters, snub fighters, destroyers, gunships, many, many more. By Forbes count, Cloud Imperium has sold 135, okay, I was close, 135 ships for as much as 3,000 apiece. True. 87 of these ships have been completed to the point that players can fly them in the buggy early versions of Star Citizen. Some of the other 48 ships seem like little more than fancy images. Now, as much as I hate to admit it, yeah, everything that I just read is correct. There's definitely ships of all those types. There's definitely ships that are 3,000 apiece. I guess 87 are flyable at the moment. And yeah, Star Citizen is buggy. This is an alpha. It's in development. It's a thing that's ongoing. And I apologize if you can hear my dog behind me. He's being a little shit. Nobody's obligated to buy more than just the starter ship, says Gardner. All the marketing is done by the fans virally, and a lot of those ships are because the community has asked for them. Now, this is a little bit of truth and a little bit of, I don't know. Granted, nobody is obligated. I'm so sorry if you can hear that. Nobody is obligated to buy more than just a starter ship. All you need is the starter ship, the game package, and you're in. That's it. All of the marketing is done by fans virally, and a lot of these ships are because the community's asked for them. Now, I will say, a serious percentage, I'd say a better part of the percentage, is marketed virally by the fans. Cloud Imperium, though, can't say they don't have marketing. Like when you come out with all these ship commercials, like, the Freelancer, the old Cutlass Black, the new Misk Reliant one, the new Anvil Arrow one. I mean, they definitely have marketing. But a lot of these ships are because the community has asked for them, also is not false. They've been asking for carriers, the Kraken comes online. They're asking for alien ships, the alien ships come online. So, I mean, half-truths, yes. The marketing of the game has been an objective success, as we're the most crowdfunded anything, and it was overseen by Sandy, Roberts says. Yeah, And yeah, to supercharge the money that Gardner was raising, Robert. Now, let me just say, if all this marketing was Sandy Gardner's idea, she's a genius because she hit the mark. Like, it's because of her, if that's the case, that this company is afloat and has been going so strong and has been able to start develop some of this stuff. Now, admittedly, I'm not happy personally with the speed of development. I think it could be better. I think it could be faster. Chris Roberts is a bit of a perfectionist, but at the same time, I can understand that. Given the backlash that he got for some of his previous games, where they said things like, "Yeah, it's great, but it doesn't look that great." I'm the type of person where if I made something and people said that, it would be hard for me to forget. So I kind of understand why he's being so nitpicky. He wants to show, what this type of funding can do. I mean, really, put yourself in Chris's shoes. You want this to succeed more than anything. You don't want this to be a thing that works for a couple years and now, oh fuck, now I gotta find something else to do. I gotta find a new way to do this. No, they found something that's working. They want to keep that going. They see the amount of love and passion that they get from their backers, from their fans. I mean, nobody in their right mind would want to stop that, except for like a sociopath. Anywho, to supercharge the money that Gardner was raising, Roberts brought in a big outside investor for the first time last fall. They received $46 million from Clive Calder, the South African-born billionaire behind Jive Records, and his son Keith. The funds are meant for marketing. Now, this is interesting the way that they put that. This marketing, these 46 mil, is for the marketing of Squadron 42, the single player, the completely different thing from Star Citizen. So this, again, I feel like they're purposely trying to be underhanded in their wording. Cloud Imperium has churned out new versions of ships. It's already sold and allows players to trade in their old ships to help buy new ones. Yep. Companies introduced the concept of war bonds, selling ships at a discount if new cash is used to purchase them. Yep. Players gain Elite Concierge Club status by spending $1,000, High Admiral, or $10,000, Wing Commander. Yep. High status players get bonus items like the Arclight 2 Laser Pistol Executive Edition or a digital bottle of space whiskey. Yeah, that was part of the whole concierge thing that they did. Okay. It may seem silly, but there are real victims. Ken Lord, 39-year-old data scientist from the Denver area who suffers from worsening multiple sclerosis. That's kind of a moot point, but sure. Lord first backed Star Citizen in 2013 and eventually spent $4,500 buying spaceships. Last year, Lord unsuccessfully sued Cloud Imperium for a refund. Now, okay, I mean, I don't really feel bad, though. That was totally his choice. He unsuccessfully sued Cloud Imperium for a refund. You take something that is bad, like spending too much money on a video game, and turn it into a socially exclusive club and make it desirable. Cheers to their marketing department. Well, not really. I mean, again, you just need a $45 ship, and spend maybe $15 to get the single player. Bizarrely, Lord, who claims to have poor impulse control, continued to buy more spaceships after his lawsuit failed. So, now, they make a big thing... God, there's so much noise today. They make a big thing of the whole, oh, well, he didn't, get a refund, and well, no shit. That money was spent already. This isn't like a big company. Not only that, but Cloud Imperium, they used to do refunds without issue. Until they started seeing people would give them like $1,000 or $2,000 and then get a refund shortly thereafter, and basically using them as a bank. Now, that's what banks are for. Now, admittedly, if you've got a good enough reason, a good enough explanation, I think they should at least be seen. I think they should at least, consider it in some aspects. But who says they didn't? Who says Star Citizen didn't look up this guy's username and say, oh, well, this guy's been playing every single day for hours and hours and hours at a time. It sounds like he's just trying to withdraw money. No. You know? And then, it obviously didn't affect him too badly, because he continued to buy spaceships after the lawsuit failed. So, again, what is the point that's trying to be done here? Anyway, it's not my place to talk about what people spend their money on, says Gardner. When asked what it was like to work at Cloud Imperium, one former senior game maker who left in 2018 messaged a link to the Spinal Tap movie scene with an amplifier volume knob turned to 11. Yeah, again, it's game development. That shit is hectic. It's chaotic. Shit is always in flux. Again, go to Activision. Go to EA. Well, no, fuck EA. Go to, Konami. No, you know what? Fuck Konami. Go to Hello Games. Go to, any company and ask them. I guarantee you they'll probably send you almost the exact same meme. Former employees say Roberts gets involved in the smallest details and pushes huge and complex investments in areas that are not worth the effort. Well, yeah. His whole thing is he's trying to make a big, high-fidelity TM universe. Of course he wants everything to be at the highest spec possible. Of course, then we get to the next point. At one point, one of the company's senior graphics engineers was ordered by Roberts to spend months through several iterations getting the visual effects of the ship shields just right. Well, yeah, I'd want my shit to look right too. I wouldn't want it to just look passable. I'd want it to look good too. See, here's the thing. It seems like this guy has no idea about perfection, or has no idea about taking pride in your work. I mean, look at this article, for instance. He doesn't know what the fuck. In addition, workers have had to spend weeks on end making demos so Cloud Imperium can keep selling spaceships and raising more money. Well, no shit, Sherlock. It takes money to keep the lights on. It keeps money to have people working on this shit. It takes money to make money, to spend money, to make money. That's how money works. That's how business works. You'd think Forbes would know that shit out of anybody. Holy shit. Wow. Before David Jennison quit as Cloud Imperium's lead character artist in 2015, he wrote a letter to Human Resources, and it leaked on the internet, trying to explain why he completed only 5 characters in 17 months. One problem, Jennison said, was Roberts frequently reversed approvals for the characters he was working on. Now that I can see would be pretty annoying and upsetting. All the decisions for the character pipeline and approach had been made by Roberts, Jennison wrote. It became clear this was a company-wide pattern. CR dictates all. Well, it's his fucking company. He's the president. Again, have you ever worked at a company before? That usually is how it goes. Usually the president, CEO, whatever, is the one steering the ship. Admittedly, though, it does seem like too much went by Chris. I will admit that. It seems like, at least in the past couple of years, they have, Chris has delegated that to higher-ups that he kind of more trusts to envision it, but yes, things will still go by the president. He wants to make sure the right thing is out there, the right foot is forward, the right side is being looked at. I mean, this all doesn't seem that ridiculous to me. It seems a little bit on some aspects. But overall, I mean, it seems about right. Company spokesman retorts, it does not say Chris Roberts on the box, so one would naturally expect him to be quite involved with decision-making. It does say Chris Roberts on the box. Yeah, that's what I just said. Now they got this little blurb. The game they promised us can't even barely run. Cannot even barely run. The performance is terrible. I want out. They lied to us. Well, no. Again, alpha environment, still in flux, still in production, not optimized yet because, again, alpha. As in the past, Roberts also seems super focused on the blockbuster movie aspects of his game. Well, yeah, That's the idea. This was all about... watch the Kickstarter campaign. He said, oh, ever since I watched Star Wars, I wanted to be a lovable rogue, making my way across the cosmos, and da-da-da-da-da. That's the idea. That's why we all are into... all of us who are into Star Citizen are into Star Citizen, because it's got those aspects. Cloud Imperium hired a large and presumably expensive cast, even by today's gaming standards, including Gary Oldman, Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, and several other prominent actors, and flew them to London. There, Roberts personally directed them for Squadron 42 in a motion capture studio built by actor Andy Serkis. Now that's cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was built by Andy Serkis. That's awesome. Gardner also joined the cast. Okay. I mean, I don't see how it's a negative to have all-star actors. I mean, that sounds like a positive to me. That's kind of one of the things that got me really interested, actually, is I was like, holy shit, you got who involved? Fuck yeah, I want to see this. At one point, Roberts set the release date of Squadron 42 in the fall of 2015. Yeah, with a full commercial version of Star Citizen coming in 2016. Yeah, but again, that was at a much lower scope and scale than what it's turning out to be. And I, for one, I'm kind of glad. I like the way that it is now. I'm excited. You know, again, they didn't have the tools. They've got much better tool sets now. I mean, you know, Roberts now says a beta version of Squadron 42 will come out in 2020 and has stopped trying to guess when Star Citizen will happen. Thank God. But the footage of Oldman and Hamill in their motion capture suits has already proved useful, making its way into promotional videos. Having a cinematic story with big actors is what people expect from me, Roberts says. The Federal Trade Commission have received 129 consumer complaints related to Cloud Imperium, involving requests for refunds as high as $24,000, according to information revealed by a Freedom of Information Act request. Now, there's something I want to say about this real quick. Now, I get a drink of my coffee. Let's go back to the beginning of the article. There's about 1.1 million backers. There's only 129 consumer complaints. That's pretty fucking small. That's not even like a percentage, I think. Not even 1% have complaints. I dare you to look at almost any other company, and I bet you there's going to be more. There's going to be probably less people and more complaints. 129 sounds like a lot, but it's really not. The game they promised us can't even barely run, the performance is terrible, and it's still in an alpha state. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Yeah. Again, see my previous comment when I was just talking about that. Which a Florida resident complained and claimed last year to have spent $1,000. I want out, they lied to us. I want out, they lied to us. Where? Where did they lie? Show me. Tell me. Kiss me, oh, that was that was the weird wrong thing I wanted to do. Anyway, show me where they lied. I would love to know where they lied. If anybody can show me where they lied, please let me know. No, okay, hold on, caveat. They over or underestimated their release dates. Other than that, tell me where they lied. They never once said it's not an alpha. They never once said the performance is perfect. And again, optimizations. It's something that they're still working on. Cloud Imperium says its policy of granting refunds to fans who make requests within 30 days is fair, adding that the company is being transparent about its game development. Now, I think 30 days is kind of fair. I think, again, depending, you should take certain circumstances into consideration. And just this year, within the last year, they have been more transparent about the funds. I'd like them to show more about the actual development, but that's an issue for another time. Even though not a single one of the 100 promised Star Systems has been finished yet, Robert says Cloud Imperium has built tools that will expedite the building of future planets and moons. What was I fucking saying? What was I fucking saying? And oh, fuck me. There we go. And claims the first star system will be the largest and most complex. For now, fans only have to pay $45 for an introductory ship and access to what has been built. The backers have something in their hands. Calling it a game is a stretch, but that doesn't stop Roberts. I mean, it's a game, but it doesn't have very many game loops. I will concede that. Star Citizen is a playable game. It has more functionality and content than a lot of finished games. It's a little questionable, but it does have loops. You can function in it. You can do some stuff. It's still buggy, but yes. He adds that 40,000 people played the game together online over a recent week, and that criticism of Cloud Imperium's development work is fueled by online trolls. 40,000 people, eh? Where? I mean, how many? Did they have 1,000 servers or something? Because each server fits like 50 people. I would like to know where that data came from. There are many believers. I have complete faith, says Dan Paulson, a backer of Star Citizen since 2016. If there's a delay, it's for a good reason. It's because they want it to be a better project. Now, by Forbes count, Cloud Imperium has sold 135 different spaceship models for as much as $3,000 a piece. There's only like one or two that's that much, but yeah, give or take. Last year, Cloud Imperium released financials that showed its biggest expense was annual salaries of $30 million. $30 million for 537 employees. Let's see, what is that? What does that about come out to? Let me pull out my handy dandy calculator. 30 million divided by 537 is about $55,865.92. About $50,000, give or take, $55,000. That's like median. That sounds like it's right where it's about supposed to be. And do the math yourself. Don't trust my numbers. The documents do not detail how much Roberts and Gardner have been paid over the years. In September 2018, the Roberts Family Trust, with Gardner as its trustee, purchased a house for $4.7 million in LA's Pacific Palisades neighborhood. Okay. I can kind of see why people are a little upset. I do feel like a $4.7 million house is excessive. I'm not super stoked knowing that the production money, a good amount of it sounds like, is going into Robert's pocket. However, in a capitalist world, capitalist country, the guy who puts up the money and puts up the stake, puts up, with the threat, reaps the reward. You take all of the risk, you get all the reward. Now, admittedly, maybe between the two of them, Chris and Sandy, maybe they're making enough to where they can do this. I kind of would like to know how much they're making. They are kind of, I don't know. I feel like that should be known. I do concede to that. Prior to that, Roberts had been renting. Robert says he sold his Hollywood house in 2007 because he wanted to experience living near the ocean. Yeah, it's not like that coincided with him, getting married and all that other shit, but whatever. Again, nothing really to do with the business, but okay. He then rented for 10 years because he wasn't sure if he would like it or stay in LA long term. After all, he does have 5 fucking companies around the fucking world. I wouldn't want to own either, just in case, because you're going to be bouncing around a lot. I was quite successful before I founded Cloud Imperium, Robert says, adding that he was a partner at Origin, which EA bought in '92 for $37 million. and that he was paid as the majority owner of Digital Anvil when Microsoft acquired it. So again, it's not like Roberts was just some bum. You know, again, he had to put up some money to get the beginning of it started. Yeah, we paid for a majority of it, but that's the idea of crowdfunding, Kickstarter, and backing. Roberts has emphatically said he is not lining his pockets from Cloud Imperium and that the company's fundraising is ethical. Roberts says he is compensated like a typical C-suite game executive. Now, C-suite game executive. What exactly does that mean? Let's look it up. C-suite from Investopedia. What is C-suite? C-suite, or C-level, is a widely used vernacular describing a cluster of a corporation's most important senior executives. C-suite gets its name from the titles of top senior staffers, which tend to start with the letter C for chief, as in chief executive officer, chief financial officer, chief operating officer, chief information officer. So it's basically a chief blank blank blank, or a blank blank chief, or whatever you want to call it. I know everyone thinks we have just $200 million in the bank and we dive off it into it like Scrooge McDuck or something. Goddamn fucking Windows. He says and points out that many players view Star Citizen as a hobby they spend money on, like golf. You know, I don't see people going after golf as being this crazy scam or scheme. I mean, think about it. Country clubs, expensive. Golf clubs, expensive. And all you do is thwack a ball into a hole. I mean, I don't know. Where's the outpouring of rage and shit? And I don't see anybody walking down the street with pitchforks and torches because of, damn you, golf. All I know is when people come to me, I say, look, you don't need to spend anything more on this game than $45. And that's just it. All you need to do if you want to play Star Citizen is get a game pack for the MMO, the Star Citizen, maybe throw in another $15 to get the single player campaign, bring in a total sum to $60, and you get 2 games out of it. You know, usually it's going to be $60 a piece. I mean, you know, that's not a bad fucking deal. So, you know, I think there are some good points in this article, but all in all, I really feel like the majority of this was just a hit piece, bringing up things that literally have no bearing, have nothing to do with the project, basically just trying to drag, you know, Sandy and Chris through the mud, and I think that's a little uncouth. I understand that they want to, you know, talk about the business aspects of it, but they didn't talk a whole lot about the business. I mean, it seemed like this was a lot more like trying to character assassinate, bringing in things of their personal lives, and I don't know, I don't believe that's correct. You know, talking about the financials, talking about the developers, talking about their hardships, sure, that seems like fair game. But all in all, I don't see this as being helpful or hurtful. Well, maybe hurtful, especially to the uninitiated. But thing is, I'm kind of used to this. It seems like every year around this time, Kotaku or PC Gamer or now Forbes gets in on putting out these types of articles, and you know, I'm not 100% sure why. Some of it I feel like is a little bit of jealousy, but that's a topic for another day. Thank you very much for watching. I think I'm going to leave the video here. I hope all you beautiful bastards out there have yourselves a wonderful day, morning, evening, whenever, wherever you just so happen to be. This has been Will, Day Late Gamer, signing off. Keep your wallets safe.